Hi guys, this is Ranjit, and in this video we'll be doing the full review for the Samsung Flip 4 smartphone. And I've been using this smartphone for over 2 weeks before I made this review, and I had actually made a lot of points. It was 6-7 pages worth of stuff, but I've now condensed it down to about 2 pages so that I can give you a gist about this smartphone without making the video too long. So let's see if I can finish this review in less than 10 minutes. So let's go over this. And again, I won't go into the physical aspects and all those things. Here are all the specs for this one. Again, if you want to know the general overview about this smartphone, watch the unboxing video. In fact, I also made another video between the difference between this Flip 4 and the Fold 4. So I'll leave those links in the description. Okay. So let me quickly start with summary. What do I feel about this? I feel this Flip 4 is an improved version of the Flip 3, and it improves upon some of the pain points of the Flip 3. For example, the battery life on this one is way better, and this is because of the new Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 SoC, and also because of the new LTPO screen that is actually used on this one. In fact, the LPDO screen on this one can go as low as 1 Hz and dynamically refresh to 120 Hz. So battery life, which was a big pain point for the Flip 3, has been solved in this one. In fact, if you recall, I never recommended the Flip 3 because of battery life, but that has been solved. Okay, moving to the next thing about this one is, again, I also like the physically that this is not super glossy. It was super glossy in the Flip 3. This is matte kind of a finish, so this resists the fingerprints, and this is slightly less slippery. Still it's slippery, but slightly less slippery, I feel. Okay, moving to the fingerprint, I don't have a problem. It's again the same thing, side-mounted fingerprint scanner. And I also feel the call quality is improved quite a bit on this one. And that's again because of the modem actually used on this one that comes with the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. One of the best call quality that I have seen. And again, this was the same case even for the Fold 4 and this Flip 3. And I think so that's because of the superior modem that Qualcomm is using with the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. So in terms of call quality, it's good. Earpiece, again, no issues. Speaker is loud enough. You can take calls on speakerphone. I never had issues of proximity sensor. So in terms of calls, in fact, the call quality was much better. In fact, much better than the S22 Plus, etc. Okay, moving to the next thing. RAM management is also good on this one. I was a little bit worried because this has just 8 GB of RAM compared to the Fold that had 12 GB of RAM. But I'm happy to say that RAM management is not an issue on this one, and it does not boot out apps that you have in memory. So that way, RAM management has been done very well. So the software optimization, they have done a very good job on this one. Okay, moving to the next thing is you also still have this cover screen. The size hasn't improved a little bit. Samsung has changed a few things on this one. They just added a few software layers, but I still feel this screen is actually very small, and many of the apps, for example Truecaller, etc., when you get a call, it simply does not display a lot of information. So I feel there is a big scope of improvement for the cover screen, because I would say 90% of the time actually I had to open the phone to do the interactions and stuff. So I feel the cover screen could have been a lot better. You can actually take calls even from the cover screen, so that's actually good. It works on the speakerphone, and also you have the flip mode within the camera and all those things. You can just place it like this and you can actually use it. Even the front, these main cameras, you can use it like that. So that way it is fine, but I feel this cover screen is just too small to be very useful. That's my frank opinion. I hope in the next version they increase the cover screen. Okay, next, moving to the hinge. I feel the hinge has improved compared to the earlier ones. This is very smooth, but again, it is stiff enough that I simply cannot open it with a single hand. So I have to actually use 2 hands, but the hinge is good. I feel it gives me a reassuring feeling about the hinge. So unless you put in dirt here, something else, I think so this hinge will survive. Moving to the crease, many of you were asking about it. Yes, the crease will be visible again on plain backgrounds like this, and I generally am using in the dark mode. There it's not visible, but yeah, if you look at it, the crease is visible. But again, guys, this has become like a notch. I would say if you have a smartphone with a notch, after some time, after 2-3 days of usage, you just forget about it, and that was the case with me. But again, if you're bothered about the crease, yes, it is still visible. Okay, moving to the next thing is the battery life, which is a big improvement on this one. And this, as I've told you, is a combination of the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 and the actual display panel that is used, the LTPO screen. And I'm happy to say battery life has been very good on this one. If I compare it with the Flip 3, they are barely, I used to get about 3.5 hours of SOT. Here, in terms of SOT, I can get anywhere from 4.5 hours of SOT to even 6 hours of SOT. And again, as you can see, these are some of the screenshots, and this is with a full day of usage. So battery life was not an anxiety even when I was out one day, mostly on mobile data. End of the day, when I came back to home at about 10 o'clock at night, it still had 10% battery left. So battery life is not an issue. That's a big improvement. In fact, battery life is slightly better compared to the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra in terms of battery life. That way, battery life, they have really nailed it for a 3700 milliamp hour battery. Camera performance, again, these are 12 megapixel cameras, but I feel Samsung has improved the sensors a little bit and also done a lot of optimizations in terms of camera. And as you can see, some of the camera samples that I've taken with this one, the camera samples came out good even in indoor lighting, mixed lighting conditions, and even ultra wide, there is no color distortion. So I feel the camera performance is certainly good, and even at night and dull lighting in the camera does produce better pictures. I would say the camera is good enough for 95% of the users. The only place where it falls down is that as it's a dual camera setup, you don't have a telephoto lens. But apart from that, I would say most of you will be happy with the camera on this one. Now, moving to the heating issues or anything, I did not have any major heating issues with this one, again thanks to the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 SoC. But only place where I did notice some heating is, again, the processor is here, guys, over here. So normally when you're using the phone, you don't touch this area, but when you're because the processor is, when you're doing gaming, what I notice is that after extensively gaming for about 15-20 minutes, yes, this area can get warm to touch. So I would say, don't get me wrong, it's not like it cannot game. The Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 is very powerful to game. You can play even high-end games, but again, it gets slightly hot with gaming. And also with gaming, I noticed the battery life drop is considerably more. So strictly, if you're a casual gamer, once or twice you just play in a day for 15-20 minutes, it's okay. But if you're mostly sort of a gamer, then I will not recommend you this smartphone. Moving to the stereo speakers, the stereo speakers experience is good, but I wished it could have been slightly louder, but again, not a deal breaker. Moving to one feature that I do not like that Samsung has removed from this one, this Samsung DeX functionality that we have on some of the higher end Samsung phones like the Fold 4 is removed from this smartphone. So some of the power users will actually miss that. Moving to updates, again, no issues, still the best in the Android ecosystem. Next 4 years of Android upgrades, that's 4 generations, and 5 years of security upgrades. So that way you don't have to be worried about this one. Now let me just talk about the summary, what I wrote about this smartphone. Guys, if you don't know, last year's the Samsung Flip 3 was the most sold foldable smartphone in the world, and Samsung sold over 7 million units of the Flip 3. And I won't be surprised this year with this Flip 4 if they exceed 10 million units. I frankly won't be surprised, because this is a more polished product compared to the Flip 3. If you always wanted a foldable smartphone because of its compact form factor, or just because it can fold, you can definitely have a look at this one, because I feel in 2022 this Flip 4 is one of the most important foldable smartphone. For me personally, a smartphone is a really good smartphone. As you know, guys, I keep changing smartphones very often because I have to review them. And personally for me, a smartphone is a very good smartphone. Even after my review process is finished, if I don't feel like removing my SIM card from the same, I feel it's a great smartphone. And after about 15 days of using the Fold 4, when it was the time to remove the SIM from this, I didn't feel like removing the SIM. So that way, it's actually a much better smartphone, I would say. So certainly I can recommend it. So guys, that was my review of the Flip 4. What do you guys feel about the same? Do let me know in the comment section below. I frankly feel in the next generation of the Flip, that is Flip 5 or whatever Samsung would like to call, they should improve the cover screen and make it more interactive and more functional. But certainly this Flip 4 is a very good foldable, and I personally don't have any qualms recommending this to my family members or friends. Anyways guys, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit and I hope to see you in my next video. Take care guys.